Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
Of Reddit. What's the weirdest thing a guy has done during sex? He moaned his own name when he came. Still makes me laugh thinking about it. When I got on top, he said, "Welcome aboard." Weird, but not his fault. He had an epileptic seizure while in doggy position, fell on my back full dead weight, and was foaming at the mouth while turning purple. I was literally trapped under him for the longest minute of my life, and when I finally got up I called 911. He finally came to after 5 minutes or so and had no idea what happened, had bit a chunk of his tongue off and was mad I called the ambulance. He didn't believe me when I told him about the seizure until he saw his tongue. He texted me a few days later saying they found a small tumor on his brain and has to be on seizure meds for life. Crazy. Randomly punched me in the face and asked, "Did you like that, baby?" And no, I didn't. I had a guy lean on top of me and say, "You have no idea how long I've wanted to do this to you," and he then proceeded to pray to God to thank him for this opportunity. Oh Lord, for what we are about to receive, we are truly thankful. It's always good Jesus-ing to say grace before you eat. While doing doggy, my boyfriend typed on my butt like a keyboard, then stuck his thing in and said, "I'm in," like a 90s hacker movie. I told him to move faster, and he heard Mufasa, so he roared.
Today I messed up by breaking guy code by telling the wife things she doesn't need to know. About 2 years into dating, she went through a phase of asking a lot of weird questions. I enjoyed it as it was fun to talk about D's and balls and the joys of living with them day to day. She asked if it was ever in the way or uncomfortable. Absolutely, all the time. For instance, if you sit in the mall and watch people walk around the mall on a warm day, watch for guys to take one awkward long step. That means their nuts are sticking to their leg and that long step peels them off in a similar fashion and sound as pulling open Velcro. That was almost 8 years ago. Yesterday we were at the mall and she gets absurdly excited every time she sees it. Enough to make them notice a couple times and smile and wave like she thinks they're famous. And for that, I'm sorry guys, it's a hilariously awkward thing for her to be excited about. But that's why I married her.
In the United States, what should you never do? Everyone, including foreigners, has the right to be silent and have a lawyer when being questioned. Don't say anything. Also, even if you speak English fairly well, ask for an interpreter. Get out of your car and approach the cop when being stopped by a cop unless told to. Don't road rage, people are armed, never expect you'll be able to get to any specific destination by public transit.
What are some real but crazy facts that could save your life? If your house smells like fish for absolutely no reason, 9 times out of 10 it means that there is an electrical fire. The other time it means you need to take a shower. If you ever have to rescue a drowning person, throw them something to grab onto beside yourself. If you get stabbed or impaled, leave the foreign object alone. Do not attempt to remove it. Yeah, it's horrible and it's freaking you out, but your odds of survival are much higher if you just leave it be. Medical professionals will remove it in an environment equipped to deal with it. If someone is trying to suffocate you with a pillow by pressing it down on your face, just rotate your head to the side and there will be a small air pocket for you to breathe. They'll probably still try to kill you afterwards, but at least you can survive for longer.
Verses of Reddit. What were the most haunting things someone said on their deathbed? Right before my grandma died, her heart rate shot up to the 220s. As the monitor started sounding all sorts of alarms, she yelled out, "Am I supposed to stop breathing now? I work in a nursing home and one stick out for me was my kids left me here to die. May that not happen to you, son." Former CNA in the dementia unit of an assisted living facility. "My dad is on his way to pick me up now." She said that every time I checked on her until she died about a week after it started, while she was still mobile she would tidy her room and sit on the edge of her bed and just wait most of the day. "Don't leave me alone." My grandmother grasped the nurse's hand and said, "I think I'm going to die now." The nurse was telling her no, she was doing much better and would likely leave soon, but my grandmother was gone before she could finish her sentence. She knew. "I'm an ER doctor. Old lady, big heart attack, refused treatment, so we made her comfortable giving her morphine and benzos for her shortness of breath. While she was in the process of dying, I was with her in the family providing comfort." Her daughter said to her, "Just let go, mom," to which old lady opened her eyes one last time, looked at her daughter and said, "What do you think I've been trying to do?" She passed away a short. Is the best quote you have ever seen, read, and or heard. This one always stuck with me. We judge others by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions. What hurts me the most is knowing that there are people who keep saying they want to die when all they really want is to start living. Growing up is merely watching your heroes turn human right before your eyes. Maturity begins when you can be right without having to prove the other person wrong. If you love a flower, don't pick it up, because if you pick it up it dies and it ceases to be what you love. So if you love a flower, let it be. Love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. When a person tells you that you hurt them, you don't get to decide that you did. Give me 6 hours to chop a tree, I will spend the first 4 sharpening my axe. Give me 30 minutes to embait, and I'll spend 27 minutes finding the perfect video.
People who gave their significant other a second chance. Was it worth it? I was 19 and we had been seeing each other for 6 months, and he calls and tells me he slept with someone else the night before. I lived an hour away. I broke up with him right away. Couple days later I'm thinking about it and I hadn't had a period in a while, so I take a pregnancy test and I'm pregnant. I tell him and he tells me he will take care of us, and we are a team now and we'll do it together. My friends warn me that this is not the right guy. He's been flirting with most of my friends. But with a person can get matured attitude. I thought he'll be grown up now. So I forgive him. He told me right away and I'm young and freaked out. 4 years later we get married. Years after that we have another kid. We buy a house in the suburbs. Both work. Go on dates. Ride our bikes, and we're just a perfect happy family. I trusted him completely. Took a while, but we had overdone so much at a young age. 6 months ago he sits me down and admits that he had slept with over 10 different women this whole time. We're divorcing.
What's the funniest thing you've ever overheard? Walking behind 3 somewhat chubby girls. One of them says, "Don't talk to me about fudge. We talked about fudge yesterday and look where that got us." Was in church, during confessions, and overheard the priest say to the person who was in the confessional, "You did what?" Once, when I was eating alone at my university's cafeteria, I overheard a conversation between about 5 black guys. One of them was describing this girl and said something to the effect of, "She got a real nice face, good body, she's smart as hell, but she ain't got legs." I thought to myself that that was a really superficial judgment, but as I continued listening, it became apparent that she actually didn't have legs. As in they had been amputated above the knee. Then they began discussing the advantages of this, as it allows them to get all up in dat kitty. I was in the books section of Walmart and overheard a guy yell into his phone, "If you spent less time with my wiener in your mouth, then you'd have more friends." What double standard do you hate the most? Society, be who you are. Society, not like that, please. When the only diaper changing station is in the women's restroom. The floor of the men's room is not the best area to change babies for us dads, who also need to do so. Wealthy get away with crimes that would put a poor in prison. When dads take care of their own goddamn child, strangers will say, "Oh, you're babysitting, huh?" Or, "Oh, giving mommy a break. My neighbor's cat can shit in my yard, but I can't shit in my neighbor's cat yard." Is a fact that you didn't believe even after you Googled it. The reason whales don't often die from cancer is because their cancer gets cancer and kills itself before it becomes fatal most of the time. Snails can sleep for up to 3 years. Smoking inhaling wasn't worldwide until Europeans explored the Americas and spread it. So people outside America didn't really smoke until the 1500s. That the name Peggy is a nickname for Margaret. It continues to blow my mind. How? According to Google, Peggy is a female first name. Often curtailed to Peg. Derived from Maggie, a diminutive version of the name Margaret. It still makes no sense to me. There are some real but crazy facts that could save your life. If you ever have to rescue a drowning person, throw them something to grab onto beside yourself. If your house smells like fish for absolutely no reason, 9 times out of 10 it means that there is an electrical fire. The other time it means you need to take a shower. If you get stabbed or impaled, leave the foreign object alone. Do not attempt to remove it. Yeah, it's horrible and it's freaking you out, but your odds of survival are much higher if you just leave it be. Medical professionals will remove it in an environment equipped to deal with it. If someone is trying to suffocate you with a pillow by pressing it down on your face, just rotate your head to the side and there will be a small air pocket for you to breathe. They'll probably still try to unalive you afterwards, but at least you can survive for longer.
What are some psychology experiments with interesting results? One time I participated in a paid research experiment. I was basically tricked into thinking I was drunk. I was placed in a room with 2 other people and we were instructed to drink vodka with cranberry juice over a period of time while we socialized. After we drank, I was placed in a room where I had to read some flashing words on a computer. I felt pretty drunk at this point. When the researcher came back into the room, he gave me my car keys and said I was never actually given alcohol. He briefly told me that because I was anticipating drinking for this experiment that my brain had tricked me into feeling the effects of being intoxicated. I immediately snapped out of it and was completely amazed at how I felt.
Know if we get along. I'm child-free, which means I don't want kids. I'd honestly love kids, but who am I to judge? There's so many other things. Bet we could get along just fine. If you love kids, that's fine, but I hate kids. Not gonna bother asking why. I'd just rather stick to other stuff. Like, what's your job? Are you studying? Nope, I'm a pro FPS player in esports. I play video games for a career. The benefits of being from California. Not stuck in a 9 to 5. Why? I'm allowed to hate kids. Just 'cause I'm a woman doesn't mean I'm naturally going to like them. I hate kids and I will scream at a kid for crying. If a baby ever cried I would tell the it to shut up. My dear friend, I really hope you don't take this wrong, but for someone that doesn't like kids, you seem pretty obsessed about it. Because they annoy me. Got it. Just one question though. Go ahead. Do you like kids? What do you think is the single greatest photograph in history? German soldiers react to footage of concentration camps. Pablo Escobar in front of the White House while the whole country was looking for him. The photo of Bruce McCandless floating untethered in space. It's two photographs, but together they tell a story. Here is Joseph Goebbels at the 1933 League of Nations. Here he is a few minutes later, after finding out the photographer was Jewish. Prepare to meet Thy God. A bomb disposal expert walks to defuse a potential explosive device in Northern Ireland. This one makes my heart race every time. A pickup truck flees from the pyroclastic flow spewing from the Mount Pinatubo volcano in the Philippines. Daredevils play tennis in sky. Looks so unbelievable that it seems photoshopped, but it isn't, which makes it more badass.
It is the most unethical, but legal, way to get rich quick. There's a lot of grandiose plans on here, but I've got one that you can start with just a few $1,000s. Go to your state's treasury website. There you can see properties that are overdue on property tax. In most states, if you pay that overdue property tax, the owner of the property typically has a time limit to pay you back your money, or forfeit the property. What this means is, worst case, you get your money back plus interest. But more than likely, if you're able to target someone going through bankruptcy, they'll end up having to forfeit their property to you. Then you can sell it once a new deed or title is issued by the state, typically for significantly more than the back taxes you paid for it. There are some issues. If it's someone's primary residence, you'll pretty much have to hire a lawyer to fight them on squatters' rights. If it's a car, good luck ever finding it. They'll just drive away and be in trouble next time they get pulled over.
Secondary properties are ideal, but those don't come along super often, as people who can afford multiple properties usually know enough to pay their taxes. Anyways, you can start with cars for a few $100s. Houses and other properties cost a few thousand. If you don't mind being a scumbag kicking people out of their homes when they're at one of the lowest points in their life, it can be quite lucrative.
What's the strangest question you've ever been asked on an interview? At the end of the interview, the hiring manager leaned back on his chair, folded his hands and grinned. Tell me why I shouldn't hire the guy I interviewed before you came in? I had to think for a moment. Having never met or interviewed the guy, I can't make an informed opinion. And I thought the reason for the question was to see if I made snap decisions without any facts. He shook his head. Now that's a cop-out. Give me another reason. Let me see his resume and give me a few minutes. Cover up his name. I can't do that, but I'll show you his cover letter. He folded the paper so I couldn't see who sent it, and moved it across the desk. I read the first sentence and said, he makes careless mistakes. He misspelled the name of your company. The hiring manager's eyes popped and said, what? He looked at it again, then said, this meeting is over. And that was that. I never heard back and no one in HR would take my call. I don't know if it was a fake letter he used as a test or a real one. That was the strangest question I was ever asked.